we love being part of those life's big moments for people, that we've created spaces that they can come and, come together with friends. I love that we've created spaces where people can have those moments.
Hey everyone, you're with Dani Valent and you're listening to Dirty Linen. Thanks so much for listening. Love you being with me for another food chat. If you like what you're listening, please tell your friends about the show and review me on whatever platform you're listening to the pod. 5-star reviews really help us get the word out. And we do love getting the word out because, I feel like these conversations are pretty interesting and pretty juicy and hopefully give you lots of stuff to think about. Today we are chatting to Greg Sanderson, who has played a pivotal role in establishing some of Australia's most beloved bars as a co-founder and managing director of Speakeasy Group. But I've been wondering, what is it like running a bar group in a time when there is a renewed and welcome focus on workplace culture and when so many people are reducing their consumption of alcohol or not drinking at all? Greg, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Thank you for having me, Dani.
So good to have you on the show. I do love our chats. Give us a little rundown on yourself and Speakeasy Group.
Myself, I guess I'm a hospitality professional through and through. I decided pretty early on in life that hospitality was for me. I fell in love with it working for KFC when I was 14 years old. And unlike a lot of people who fall into hospitality, I went out and I did a degree in university straight out of high school. I've got a Bachelor of International Business, major in Hotel and Tourism Management. And just I've worked in it ever since the day, I turned 18. Bars, restaurants, pubs, nightclubs, cafes, behind the coffee machine, behind the cocktail station, you name it, I've kind of done it. The Speakeasy Group I opened with my business partner, Sven Almenning, early 2010, 2011. It started with Eau de Vie, back of Kirkton Hotel in Darlinghurst, at a time where a lot of Australians drank beer and wine, when they moved to spirits, it was at a certain time of night to get a bit more wasted. And even the cocktail bars back then, they still served predominantly beer and wine. And we opened Eau de Vie with the mindset of having somewhere where spirits were the occasion. And that kind of, then we opened Eau de Vie Melbourne, Boilermaker House, and we're currently running 8 venues across 2 states. We've got Mjolnir, which is a Viking-inspired restaurant, a bit left of centre, but great fun. We can talk about a bit later. Definitely when people are looking for that extra experience, as they do these days more than ever, that one's doing really well. We've got the Sanderson in Sydney, Mjolnir Melbourne, Mjolnir Sydney, Eau de Vies, and 2 Nick and Noras, and partnership with our managers or ex-staff, now business partners at Pearl in Melbourne.
It's a lot to keep a handle on. Can you talk a bit about that personal journey from bar person to manager and owner? I know that you mentioned falling in love with hospo at KFC. I mean, I love that. But it must be so different, your role today, than where you started.
You get into hospitality because you love people, you love the adrenaline of service, and I do miss the service. And a lot of my day is these, is on spreadsheets these days. But I guess I coupled that knowledge of hospitality and the industry with the kind of the academics of learning it in university and learning how to do spreadsheets and operational tasks. And I get different kind of, my bucket gets filled these days with knowing that I've set up systems and processes that enable our guests to have these amazing experiences. Great hospitality for a guest should seem like it's, effortless, but there's a lot of work that goes into making sure that happens every single time, whether it's systemizing the exceeding expectations. Like if you go into Mjolnir for a dinner, every single customer gets a welcome shot on the house. Every single person that goes there for a birthday gets a birthday gift. And that's, all the systemized, operational, not so fun stuff in the background, I guess.
I love that. Just it's the nuts and bolts and all the underpinnings that go to create that experience that, as you say, is seamless. I mean, I was really taken with a recent chat with Bill Dracopoulos from SRG in Sydney, and just he talked about how the customer should not know you're running a business. That really struck me.
Yeah, what's the old saying? It's like a duck, like pedaling like mad underwater sometimes and like sailing smooth, or is it a swan? A swan sounds way better.
I'm sure ducks and swans have to paddle. They both legs have to move pretty fast.
Well, the systemized approach that we do to some of our exceeding expectations and sequence of service is that if you go into a venue where you know the wait staff or you know the bar staff, or you get that just an amazing server, and they do those extra little things for you, and you walk out and think, wow, that's just made my night. You can't rely on, when you've got 8 venues and 180 staff, you can't rely on that happening every single time unless you systemize it and put things in place so it happens every single time.
Yeah, and I guess even thinking back to KFC, it is all about those systems that create the consistency of experience so that people know what they're going to get wherever they walk into one of those restaurants. Greg, it's interesting thinking about, you mentioned the shot that you get when you walk in at Milner and, how we used to drink beer and wine and now they're moving more to spirits. Like, how have you seen drinking culture change over the years that you've been working in the industry?
It's a couple of years now, and I used to work for a spirit company as well. I've definitely seen this mentality of Australians drinking beer and wine, and then them switching to spirits to take it up a notch and get drunk, to almost like the huge explosion of cocktail culture around Australia. Back in the early 2000s, there was a handful of cocktail bars in the country. Now, literally hundreds, and even big pubs now do great cocktails. Like if you go to, some of the, big Australian venue company pubs, they've got great cocktail menus these days. And then I think it kind of moved to premiumization, premium spirits had their time. And, now we're definitely seeing a bit more moderation in alcohol consumption. But that doesn't mean people are totally abstaining. You've got I don't even know if it's a real saying. It was a friend of mine from overseas talking about it recently, called zebra striping. Where you kind of have people going out and they're mixing up their night with alcoholic drink, non-alcoholic drink, alcoholic drink, non-alcoholic drink. So we've invested a lot of time and energy increasing our non-alcoholic offerings at the venues, because we believe that people still want to go out for a great experience. When they ask for a non-alcoholic cocktail and non-alcoholic drink, they still want the experience. They want the wow factor of the cocktails coming out, the theatre that an alcoholic equivalent would have, but just without the alcohol.
So what proportion of non-alc drinks would you have in some of the venues?
We've just totally overhauled. Previously it was under 10%. Now our menus have over 25% of the cocktails are non-alcoholic, up to 30%. I think some of our menus are.
It's quite an extraordinary shift. Do you think is there as much creativity in a non-alcoholic cocktail? Is it as much fun to make? Like, what's this? It's because it's such a change, not only for diners but also for people who work in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the changes that's happened over the years, right? So a decade ago, you would take an alcoholic drink off your menu and go, right, I'm going to take out the vodka and put in apple juice. There you go, done. But now we're crafting the non-alcoholic cocktails, especially to be a non-alcoholic cocktail from scratch, thinking about the complexity, using teas for length and mouthfeel. And to get the staff behind it, we actually did a non-alcoholic cocktail competition with our staff recently, and they had to submit their drinks, and then there was a winner, and now many of those drinks are now on the menus.
Do you remember the winner?
Oh, he's going to kill me for forgetting the name. It is the Gingerbread Kid, I believe, from Max, the venue manager at Erdevi, Sydney, and it's incredible. It's actually one of my favorite cocktails I've tried in the last 12 months, and it's not like you wouldn't even guess. It's like a clarified milk punch with. It's just absolutely incredible. One of the best drinks I've tried in over a year.
Wow, that's so cool. What about the economics of non-alc? Because I think sometimes people are like, well, there's no alcohol, it should be cheaper, but you're talking about a lot of work that goes into these drinks. Like, how does that all stack up?
I mean, they're definitely cheap. They are cheap, a lot cheaper than the alcoholic cocktails, but there's just as labor intensive. And on a busy night, you've still got only so many seats in the venue. They're drinking non-alcoholics. They're $10 less a cocktails. Um, I think they're pretty good value for money. And like I said, the experience is we're trying to match the experience of all the alcoholic drinks.
But then is that a danger for you as a business that you're reducing your profits seat by the seat because people are drinking less?
In the restaurants, what we saw was people, if there wasn't a good selection of non-alcoholic drinks, people would drink water. So it's actually in the restaurants, you're taking that spend up per head. The bars, maybe a little less here and there, but people come out with, friends that are drinking, they're not drinking. We want to make them feel comfortable to, I'm not, the answer shouldn't be that I'm not drinking, I can't go out today. I think once more and more venues have great bigger offerings, non-drinkers will just feel very comfortable going out with friends all the time.
Yeah, I think that's so well said. You make me think of a pub in Melbourne. I was chatting to Bobby Peels, who did a gluten-free chicken parma just as a special for some event. And it was so popular that they kept it on the menu, and they find that, a group of 10 will go out and they've got this one gluten-free person. I mean, it's 10% of the population, so that probably makes sense. And they'll go there specifically because they can have the parma. So it's you are really increasing the opportunity to attract more people overall.
And it's a simple thing, but we put all the non-alcoholic offerings in one section of the menu. Because if you're not drinking, you're like, well, am I going to have a non-alcoholic beer or like a nice soda? And so then you're going through the soda menu, then you're going through a cocktail menu, then you've got the wine menu, then you've got the beer menu. So we put all of our non-alcoholic beers, wines, soft drinks, cocktails in one section of the menu, so you can just go see everything in the same place.
Greg, workplace culture is such an important topic in hospitality. I mean, it should always be, and it seems to, I guess, come to prominence because of various blow-ups from time to time. But I'd love you to talk about it. I know it's something that you're really passionate about at Speakeasy. Maybe talk about, how you've seen the industry change and how you want to lead the group through this landscape.
Great question. I mean, unfortunately, the hospitality industry has been known for, having toxic cultures in workplaces for many years. But as myself coming from a place of this is my profession, I'm a professional hospitality person. To get more people, more skilled workers into the industry and to stay in the industry, it has to be a professional industry. It has to be a place where people can see careers, they can see growth, they can see having families and coming back to work and balancing all of these things. And that means that we have to put work as individual venues, individual businesses, but also as an industry into our culture, into the protecting staff, making them feel comfortable, safe from guests, from other staff, from managers. So we've done quite a bit of work at the Speakeasy Group as well. And we've done more recently in the last, I think, a year and a half. And, a lot of businesses talk about values, and we did, for many years. We had our company values listed on a website that we wrote down on paper, and I think let our marketing girl kind of turn it into a nice little marketing spiel, and that's it. We just had the company values on our webpage for many years, but recently we've implemented something called EOS. It's called Entrepreneur's Operating System. It's a way of running your business. Comes from a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. I only know one other hospitality business that kind of runs their company like this. It's the Death and Company, or Death and Co. Guys out of New York. They've talked about this as well. And one of the ideas is that you go back and you look at the values of your business, but you look at the values of your business and you write them down, and you write about actually who you are. And you do that by picking out the number of staff in your company that you really think that the best of the best, and what of their values. And because their values become the company's values, you put them down on paper, but then we live by them. So, I mean, we've got 4 company values. It's the first one is fuck yeah. If it's not a fuck yes, it's a no. Best for the guest. Sometimes things are a bit hard to execute, but if it's the best for the guest, you find out how to do it. Doing the right thing, even when it's hard. And I always forget the other one. Last one is best for the guest, and do the right thing, and evolve and excel. And we now hire by these values. We fire by these values. We talk about these values with our staff. We have a monthly newsletter that comes out. We pick value champions for our staff. And I think once you've got everyone in the company, our values are and I think that's important, that if you have values that you live by, everyone knows what they are, and you actually execute on those values. And by doing that, you build the culture in the company, because that old saying is culture is what happens when you're not looking. Culture is what happens when, I'm not there. If I walk into a room, the culture of the room changes, but it's what you set up and establish when you leave. So I think that being really strong and true to our values is worked for us. But I think, everyone needs to kind of tackle it their own way.
I mean, what are the kinds of things that you're trying to avoid or nurture by enacting these values?
We're trying to have clarity on why we do what we do. We're in the hospitality industry. It's a fantastic industry. We're not doctors doing brain surgery, saving lives, and a lot of people brush it off that, it's not that important, but people coming together, celebrating life's great moments, I think is very important. And having those kind of values and being strong to those values lets people, everyone in the company kind of knows the direction we're going and aligns behind them. Not sure.
I mean, it will. Can you talk about your traffic light system?
Yeah, for sure. So the traffic light system is essentially a code of conduct, or how we expect our guests to treat our staff. So we tackled a couple of problems I saw, and one was when we, especially hiring younger staff, they didn't know what was appropriate behavior for a staff or what wasn't. And two, a lot of young staff members thought that if we had a high paying guests or people were spending a lot of money, they were allowed to get away with behavior that, was not okay. And number three, sometimes a manager would have a different opinion on what was okay and what was not. The staff member would say, hey, that table over there, they've just said this, they've done that. And the manager might come back and say, well, that's okay. Let them get away with that. The traffic light system is obviously green, orange, red, and purple, which there's a different color in there. And that means that if a staff member knows that traffic light system and the behaviors that are associated with it, they should be able to walk over to a manager and say, I've got an orange table over there. And the staff members shouldn't have to explain themselves to the manager, because then the manager puts it through their own filter and has their own decision. As long as that staff member is feeling that that table is an orange, it's an orange. And by that, I mean, there's certain behaviors that we list that aren't okay from a guest to our staff. And then we have pre-decided actions from that. So whether a manager steps in, takes over the table, that staff member gets removed from the situation, the guest gets asked to leave, and then purple is how other guests should treat other guests. So by having it set up and established, we don't have to make those calls in the moment, and that alleviates kind of some of the anxiety of what do we do now when we have guests behaving badly.
I think that's so powerful. I really love it. We all experience the world differently, and what someone experiences as threatening behavior, as you say, like someone else might think, oh, that doesn't sound that bad. But I think to empower your staff to know that they'll be trusted, that their judgment of a situation is the judgment, and that's it. It doesn't need to go up the chain to be negotiated or filtered. It just is unacceptable behaviour. I think that's so empowering. I mean, do you find staff members that you bring into the business surprised by this system? Is it a sort of welcome change from some other things that they've experienced?
I think when we introduced it, yes, I think it's a bit more expected now that these policies, especially kind of with it's now law. You have to have the sexual harassment and bullying training in place. But when we first brought it out, I think it was a bit of like some people mentioned it quite a lot that this is great to have. But now I think it's a bit more expected, and it just works and it does its job and people know about it. And I think from time to time I get asked about other hospitality groups about it, and I send it straight to them. And I think staff members have taken on to different venues that they now work and manage for. So, it's almost like planting a seed and going, well, this is the standard that we're setting, and this is the standard we expect. And that, I will share if anyone is listening to this and wants to be sent our traffic light system, I have no problem sharing it.
Love that. I mean, do you think hospitality overall is improving, or is it always going to be this sort of pirate industry with loose behaviour that damages the people that devote themselves to it?
It's definitely getting better. I think it's coming. It's come a long way, even in the time that I've been in it. Even in the last 5 years, I think staff members these days are expecting a higher standard of employer and culture in their workplace. And I think as long as that continues to move forward, the venues that aren't supplying a great culture and taking care of their staff and care about their staff will just continue to lose staff. But I do believe even the older souls in the industry that kind of might be it might be entrenched in them, the old ways of work hard, play hard until you fall over. I think even they're starting to understand that it's shifted.
I think, when it's hard to find great staff, I think you do have, even if that's the only motivation you have for thinking about how you treat people, then it's got to shift. Greg, your namesake venue in Sydney was in the news recently because of an Uber Eats scam. Can you talk us through that?
It's a funny one. It's a bit left of centre. I mean, so it was essentially a scam, or what we think is a ghost kitchen, is making food in Sydney and just applying for opening Uber Eats accounts. So we had someone open an Uber Eats account in our name, and the way that we found out about it was, I think, a delivery driver called the restaurant asking how to get entry to pick up the food, and we were like, "Excuse me," and then so we jumped onto Uber and started looking, and we're like, There's our venue. It's our name. It's the photos of our food. It's the dishes off our menu. It's everything. I mean, they were selling one of our lobster dishes for $37. It was good value, but no wonder they had.
But they weren't going to get a lobster.
No. And so I think it was. So obviously, we understand that they were fulfilling food. They were fulfilling some deliveries because we called Uber and lodged a complaint, and they seemed surprised at the start. They're like, "Oh, you fulfilled some orders yesterday." And we're like, "Well, that wasn't us." And then over the next couple of days, it just kind of escalated. We started getting more phone calls, people complaining that they haven't got their food, more delivery drivers. We had, obviously then it turned into some poor Google reviews. Unfortunately, it was over Valentine's Day weekend as well. So some people had ordered Valentine's Day meals from us for home as well. And I feel sorry for the people that did, but it was a total scam. And it's at the start, I was like, oh, this is we'll get this taken care of pretty quickly. But Uber was not set up for taking complaints like this and acting quickly. It was very poor communication. It was a week and a half later, maybe, that it was still up and taking orders. It seems like it was easier to create an account for Uber Eats than it was to get one taken down. So it was like, okay, this bad thing has happened, and it's but the fact that it was so hard to turn around was the kind of really annoying factor.
It's so crazy. I mean, what does it tell you about the entanglement of Uber Eats with hospitality?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was easier to open an account, and as long as money's coming in and they've got new accounts opening, I think it's a pretty basic process. But when something's a scam, it seems like a very hard thing. And there's no red flags. Hey, this restaurant that's never had an account before, it's a top end restaurant. There's no flags about that. There's no contacting us to confirm. It was just really, really strange that it's that easy to go on, get some publicly available information like our ABN. We can get any Australian business number and a few photos from our website, and then bang, it's up and running.
And yeah, trading off your good name and trashing it, really.
Yeah, and reputation is, when you're operating a restaurant down an alley in Sydney with no street frontage, reputation is how you drive people into the business. And any kind of anything that happens that can tarnish that is detrimental to the long-term kind of viability of the business. But even since that Uber Eats, we've been hit with 1-star scam as well. So we had even last week, I think we got 100 1-star reviews, and then one of those reviews was like, here's the link to my WhatsApp page or WhatsApp messenger number, and send me money and I'll take down all the 1-star reviews.
What did you do?
We're disengaged and went through the proper process with Google, which is a lot faster than Uber. I think Google can get that turned around usually within 48 hours or so. But it's, in an industry that's, it's not the easiest times for our industry to take your focus as an owner, as an operator, my managers, my marketing, the team in the marketing, rather than talking about food and beverage and service. We spend 2 days talking about 1-star reviews. We spend a week and a half talking about Uber things, and it takes the focus of some key team members away from what we're here to be doing.
Wow, it's you're so vulnerable in that way, and I imagine with just tech infiltrating more and more aspects of the industry, there's only going to be more scams and more of this pegging back. But yeah, it's really I'm really shocked about just the blatant scam nature of the 1-star reviews. It's like it's just being held to ransom like that. Yeah, it really sucks. Let's switch and talk about something good. We mentioned at the start of the chat, or you mentioned with Mjolnir, how important experience is and how people are looking for that little bit extra. I think that's definitely something I'm noticing, where people love to go out to eat and hang out with their friends and experience hospitality, but they are looking for that sort of talking point moment, that something that they can share, something that sort of amplifies the memory with a little bit extra. Tell me about that from your perspective.
100%. What I'm seeing, from yourself as a keen observer of hospitality to what's happening in the industry, it's 100% correct. Unfortunately these days, our biggest competition is not always the restaurant down the road or the bar. Or it's Netflix or, it's streaming. Like it's so and Uber Eats. It's so easy to to get very comfortable in the house these days and not leave. And, ever since, like, that's kind of, coming from streaming services and home delivery and even getting out of our kind of habits that we formed in COVID. And when people do come out now, they want that experience, as we came out of COVID and into the last couple of years, the two Mjolnir restaurants that you're talking about were by far, like, I think Melbourne came out and was doing far better revenue than it was before COVID, because there was this great experience people could come out for. If you don't know about Mjolnir, look at it. It's a Viking-inspired restaurant. You drink out of horns. You eat dinner with a hunting knife, basically. And then we had Boilermaker House. That was our craft beer and whiskey venue, and that really kind of suffered out of COVID, because people had grown their whiskey collections at home, and their local bottle shops were stocking more craft beer than ever. So we found that the just going out for a nip of whiskey and a nice beer was not the draw card it once was, but people coming out for this very unique kind of dining experience was. So we saw like this drop in revenue at like a Boilermaker House, which is closed now because of end of lease and they're knocking the building over. But we did see that decline in revenue in its final years. And the same thing that we try to do at the other venues as well. Activations like high teas and degustation dinners. These are things that are just continue to do well.
I also noticed there's a whiskey walk that you've curated. Like people go from one venue to another. I think that's really clever. It's like, you don't need to install Viking helmets and get some swords. It's like I suppose people who are listening to this, like you may already have the infrastructure to create an experience using things that are already there.
The whiskey walking tours, well, it's taking advantage of having multiple venues within walking distance of each other. But, I love this city. I love Melbourne. I love the history that Melbourne's got. And if you're out on the weekend, you see the walking tours all around the city. You see the walking tours for graffiti and down outside Movida. I forget the name of the lane down there. And all around the city. And we've for years had walking tours come into our venues, like the laneway tours, etc. So we put one together, which is a whiskey walking tour. But when you get the passport and you're kind of walking around and you're kind of getting it stamped at each stop, you're having a cocktail, a whiskey, and a bite of food at each stop. The pages in between will give you some history about where you're walking past the history. So where you're walking through the city. So the theatre district gives you some history of the theatre district, then some history around Collins Street, then history around like laneway bars and why we've got so many laneway bars in Melbourne. So you kind of, you have some nice drinks, you learn about our beautiful city, and you tour three of our venues.
I mean, you are in a position where you've got multiple venues, but it makes me think of another innovation I saw recently, where on the opening of the new metro tunnel, where you can, for the first time, get a train from Carlton to Footscray. There was a partnership between the Lincoln in Carlton and Bar Time in Footscray, perhaps another venue that I can't remember, but basically there was a passport created, or, a ticket, and you go from one venue, hop on the train, get it to the other venue. I think, as you mentioned, it's your competition as a venue is not necessarily the venue down the road. It is, all the other things that people could be doing with their time and their money. So there's no harm, and certainly actually benefit in thinking about how people might be able to partner with other venues to create experiences for their customers. It doesn't need to be building a themed venue, for example.
I didn't know about that, but that's great. I think that's the camaraderie and that this industry has surprises some people that that they don't know about the hospitality industry. One of my best mates, Hamish, owns another whiskey bar in town called Beneath Driver Lane, and when people find out that we're friends, it is like some people get shocked. They're like, "I thought you guys should hate each other. You should."
Oh wow!
You should, your sworn enemies. No, like there's some great friendships in this industry. We try to help each other out. I think that's great. We've had some. We recently had Death and Co. Open right next to Eau de Vie in Melbourne. One of my favorite one of my favorite cocktail experiences when I was in New York was Death and Co. I think it's great for the area. I think it's great for our city as well. So I think if that mentality of helping each other out it needs to continue. And I love that ticket between this Carlton and Footscray.
I think it's easy. It's easy when times are tough, and we know that costs are up and spend is down across the industry, across every industry really. It's easy to have a scarcity mindset and sort of bunker down and just feel like everyone is your competition. But I think community is what's going to get people through this, and the more generous you are with the other people doing business around you, the more that will flow back. Or that's what I think anyway. Hopefully that's borne out, and we see a lot more thoughtful, meaningful collaborations that make sense for businesses and for the people that patronise them. Greg, I'd just love to ask you a couple of big questions. Why do you do what you do?
Oh, why do I do? That's a deep one. I got into hospitality because I loved hanging out with people. I loved talking. I loved being in the service industry. When I was growing up, my dad was actually kind of he loved the hospitality industry as well. He was a bus driver, but worked in a restaurant on the weekends, and I think it's just flowed through my life. Hospitality is just what I enjoy. But why I do what I do now in ownership is, and the style of venues that we have. I would call like celebratory style venues. People come to our venues to celebrate life's great moments, engagements, promotions, that special birthday. We're not that, I'm going to drop in and have it. Nothing against the pot and Palmer venues that are out there, but that's not the space of hospitality that we're in. I like being part of, and so does my business partner Sven. Like we love being part of those life's big moments for people. We've created spaces that they can come and come together with friends. Now more than ever, where you can do everything's online. You can interact with people online, but people are still coming out and coming together in hospitality venues more than anything else. So I love that we've created spaces where people can have those moments.
Wow. Well, yeah, thanks for creating those spaces. Greg, really enjoyed our chat today. Can't wait to get into one of the venues. Where do you reckon I should go next, and what should I have?
Wow. Have you been to Mioni before?
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so, I just love, going down the stairs into like the dungeon, and it's definitely, you're not on the couch. That is for sure.
I had dinner there in Melbourne and Sydney last or 2 weeks ago, and we do it in Melbourne as well. But every Wednesday night we do what's called Thor's Hammer, which is a 2.2 kilo beef shin. It's enough meat on the bone to serve 3 people. It's massive. When it comes to the table, it's shockingly large. We don't only do it a Wednesday night. So if I was going to suggest anything, get some friends together. Drink from a horn and enjoy Thor's Hammer on a Wednesday night.
Okay, that sounds so fun. Greg, thank you so much for your time.
No problems at all. Thanks, Dani.
This is Dirty Linen. I'm Dani Valent. We bring you untold stories from the food world. Real, raw, unafraid, hopeful. We're driven by a belief that food provides endless opportunities for learning, connecting, and creating the world we want to live in. Delicious, open-hearted, meaningful. If you know a story that needs telling, get in touch. Write to dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au. Thank you for listening.
This is a Deep in the Weeds production.